Ayo, what you saying?
Yes, I will give thanks a lot for ya.
Serious thing. We are here again, Ballhead and Nick Dread. Podcast. Respect everyone. Tune in from those times. So now, if you get free time, make sure you check us out. INeverKnewTV.com. IR Reasons. Make sure you check out brand new video from Far Eye. Far Eye, tell them the name of the video.
As the water flows, we are close out the chapter upon disrupting the status quo in regards to video, the only outstanding one, as the water flow out now,
And they have that UK step up vibe to it. Respect to the one King Rafa, Makaka, Uganda crew there. Far Eye, what we're reasoning about today?
Well, we know a whole heap of ones struggle with reading, but we want to really specifically talk about the struggles of most men as it relates to reading. Because we want to take it from the angle because a whole heap of different implications we see that have across society as it stands even up to this day,
Serious thing, and the reading thing, the illiteracy thing is very high. And the definition of illiteracy, I personally don't follow, because in America they categorize, or I say they'll qualify around 20, a little over 20% of the society as full-blown illiterate, right? But within their statistics, they don't acknowledge those who are functionally illiterate. Over 50% of Americans are below a 6th grade reading level. Now, majority of documentation, from what I believe or remember correctly, don't quote me, I believe it's 8th grade and up. That puts you in a situation where a lot of stuff you're reading, especially in regards to financial information, legal information, you don't clearly understand, and leaves you in a position to be highly, highly taken advantage of, right? But before we even go into that part, I want to speak about the limitation of information when you don't read. What happens is this, right? We're all aware of the public school system and the way it's designed. It actually plants a disdain for reading in those who attend those schools. And as you become an adult, you don't read and you don't practice the skill of reading. Reading is a skill like any other thing. Too many times people are groomed to read just to get a grade or regurgitate. And it's like a short-term memory thing if they're not cheating, right? You got this chat, whatever is what GPT or something, chat something everybody uses right now. Excuse me. But they're not reading to really fully comprehend the argument of the person, to analyze the text that they're reading, and kind of, have that relationship with the information that they're looking over. As you grow older, people don't read. As you don't read now, right? You're not working out your brain. All right. We already know we live in a very unhealthy society, physically, spiritually, emotionally, but mentally. Not just with mental health, but weak mentally in regards to the ability to think critically. And a lot of that stems from people don't read. You have to work out your brain consistently. Just like you work out your body, you work out your brain. Not only should you be reading, but you should be reading things that you're unfamiliar with. I know personally, like, I'm not saying I'm done, Far Right, but I'm kind of done with Pan-African literature at the moment because it's becoming sort of repetitive, and I want to challenge my mind. That's why I got into the quantum physics or reading about some other, I got into European history. I've been getting back into theological texts. What do you think some of the issues are when men don't read?
Well, the number one issue that comes to my mind is thinking about even social media, right? The number one thing I realize, because a couple times I have to correct people. People have said, make them, and like when I talk to them, I make them know, say, yo, say the picture where you just like, you did read the caption. So, oh, no, when I start scroll through, I never read the caption. It's actually, according to what I know, their beliefs, it's opposing their beliefs. But because them see the imagery, them just associate. It's good. It's a good skill for associate a story with imagery, because it developed the mind to say, okay, I see this imagery, what type of story tell from it. But because the people so turn off, especially enough for the man them, most of the men them, to turn off from reading, it almost make them agree with things where them tell you, so them disagree. It start create like a whole controversy even in them mind. For no said them now, you see if them there spend time and did have an emphasis, put some emphasis for reading, and they actually like the art of reading, you realize say a lot of them wouldn't even like some of the things with them like on social media because them and I realize that the caption and the stories them were attached to these imagery is not what them think it as say. So even that are one of the biggest problems when I say. And then when it comes to the sense of people are text, as they briefly mentioned that the people are text, and most of the times now because the words them automatically generated for we don't really write out words anymore. So you see, because we do that now, I will continuously at our brain in the mindset they say, okay, the word will pop out for we. When the word actually don't pop out for we now, and we have something very crucial to do. As they say now, when it comes to documentation, we benefit our life. We start that we can't do it, so we take longer to do the process them. And taking longer to do the process them means a less benefit towards we, because obviously if you need to travel to go get an opportunity or whatever you need for do, you can't go do that because you never fill out the passport paper. You see me, I say if certain things, new laws pass or certain different things come into play, you never do that. You never read it and follow up for know that this is taking place now, so you can make use of that and take use of that and that advantage. So you get lost behind. And them thing them really realize you know, I mash up the society in a way. Because something I notice, you know, you see back in the days, a lot of men used to just bring like them documents and things go to them wife and thing. Back in a more medieval time, your grandfather them days, them usually bring things to get them wife fill out the paper there because them was actually illiterate to the standpoint with them smart in terms that them know what for do, you know. But because them couldn't read, them try bring it to them grandma, they bring it to grandma or somebody else who them things are more prone to them type of things if we do it. But now in our age where we have the ability, enough of the man them actually know how to put words together. Not that them know how to read consistently, but them know how to put words together. Them still dependent upon the type of structure there. And I feel like not reading and not liking to read start drag them backwards, you know, where them become dependent when them could be independent, you know?
Serious thing. And before I move on to what I want to say, I want to touch on something very important you just spoke on. I think the difference between the generations is this. Illiteracy was very high in previous generations, right? But critical thinking was also high. So they may not have been literate, but their brain worked and they were able to break down things and see things. And these modern times now we have a double negative. We have the illiteracy coupled with the inability to think critically. And that's what causes a bigger problem. One thing I wanted to touch on is violence. I think that a lot of the violence takes place because people, remember what I was saying earlier about training your brain and being able to look at situations, because people don't have that ability. Yes, we have a certain level of emotional immaturity, but in regards to thinking about certain things, some people are looking at events in the wrong way. They're not able to look at an event from numerous aspects. And that goes back to training the brain and also correlates with the reading. That's why they react in such a way. And a lot of the violence is like, if you look at statistically now, and I'm not saying statistics are always accurate due to the sample size, this and that, but if you look at statistics, a lot of violent offenses are done by people who don't have a high reading level. So there seems to be a correlation between reading and your ability to think critically and analyze a situation, because you know, like it's a big thing with these guys killing these women and all this craziness, right? I don't know about that now. You know what I'm saying? Like it's either you gotta leave her alone or take a walk. I don't see why she's getting you so angry you gotta kill her and you're gonna sit in the box for the rest of your life. Or a lot of these arguments they have with other friends, because that's a big thing. A lot of this violence is people killing people that they know. How did this argument get so out of hand that y'all killing each other? And they get you're not able to look at the situation from a rational standpoint and even think about the consequences of your action, because you don't spend any time training your brain and thinking about stuff and looking at things from different perspectives. A lot of these arguments, people don't even say, man, like, let me try to look from this person's point of view and their perspective of what they're saying. They just cut that off and go in a blind rage and just carry it on with people. And it's like, it doesn't work, it can't work, and it doesn't work. And I tie that back to the failure to think critically. And if you were using and training, and I'm not saying reading is the only way to train your brain, but I think it's the most basic way to train your brain. expose yourself to different ideas. Because what happens when you read is this: you're basically sitting at the foot of the author and sharing the ideas with the person. You literally have access to people you would never have access to in your life, right? Brilliant people. And you're able to be exposed to brilliant ideas or their ideas, and you can analyze it and say, this makes sense, this don't make sense. And as you grow, your perspective will change. You might have thought this was truthful at this point in your life. And as you grow, mature, and learn more, you think this is important. But what happens this far right? You see, when you struggle with reading at a young age, it's a terrible thing. Because you know, as a man that reads, the more you read, the more information you know, right? And therefore, you're able to put two and two together when you read, because you may read a book about African history, but they may have a section on there about the American economy. And when you're familiar with it, it's easier. But if you're not, it's kind of discouraging to look up first of all, it's discouraging when you don't know the words, right? But anyone struggling with reading, you have to go through that process. I went through that process. Listen, when I graduated high school, I went to a good college, right? When I graduated high school, I can read, but I couldn't read. I can say the words. I could pronounce the words, but I did not know what they were saying, bro. So I had to develop the skill of reading comprehension, comprehending what I was reading. And it took time and effort. So it's not like it can't be done. And if you can't read as an adult man, you need to swallow your pride. There's so many programs out here that you can learn. You are a fool to go through life without the ability to read, and especially in this society when you have so much programs to develop the skill of reading. Because every day you don't read or you're unable to read, you're putting yourself at risk, a high risk for exploitation, and you're putting yourself in a hub of ignorance. Because therefore, your only access to information is your peers, bless their soul. Hopefully you got an elder, somebody with sense around you, and the media. And if that's your only source of information, good luck. Because we already know information is segregated far right.
I say when you talk about the violence, excuse me, it really something come to my mind. I'm just start really think about it. You have to break it down directly into the two pieces them for even make all people understand it even more. So one, for the violence, if we broke it down in the sense where a man who just can't read as opposed to a man who don't like for read, right? You can't see how the violence even vary. So one, the person who can't read tend to get upset real faster because them don't understand things. And normally when you don't understand things, you tend to assume say people look down upon you because it's your internally, because you don't know internally and you see the reactions of people. You might feel like the reactions of people are associated with you not knowing that. So it may lead you to feel like somebody is targeting you. So the more you don't know, the more you start assuming. And then always, them tell us the assumption is the mother of all effort. So, say, when you start assume things, automatically it will bring out a sense of anger because you don't have the answers them we are look for. And you can't help yourself get the answers, so that's more anger. So if you broke it down from the piece there, then that's a one. And then if you think about two now, the man who not interested for read. There I mentioned something key, and the reason why I'm starting about it there is the perspectives, right? Perspectives is a real wicked thing in a fire. Where you not understand somebody's perspective. Here why you not go, if you don't like read, you not go understand somebody's perspective, right? Oftentimes when I see it going on the street, it's a real thing too, It's not, because remember, so we're not a youth to the start from a chair right there. So we actually in the street and know certain things. A lot of the arguments them and a lot of the things them, the beef them and turmoil going between communities and different gangs and them things there, is based off a hearsay. So somebody hears something and then them start put it in for them own a perspective with the eye. So the word perspective. So now sometimes the what them hear is something where them could have easily research, And so because the lack of research and the lack of interest to go read this thing, then automatically it starts a whole friction. And so once that friction starts, it can't be undone. So that is the reason why it does continue. Even though somebody knowing say, if them they take the time and the opportunity and even go read one bit, maybe, just maybe, that whole turmoil would never ever happen and so much life wouldn't be lost. So it's the interest for learn for one for read and is very key in a violence. So yeah. That we need to know. So if we break it the way there, we can really see some of the root or the card or the stem of violence we are going.
And thanks for bringing it up that far. And continue. I just wanted to put this in there. Is that, and I want to be clear. I'm not saying because you read, you're a good listener, but if you're a good reader, you have the capability of listening. And I made that clear. What happens? A lot of people can't listen. They can't comprehend what people are saying. So as you stated earlier, they didn't clearly hear the thing, and it's a lot of you know how much misunderstanding lead to the loss of life here. Because when people are arguing and yelling, like I've experienced where I had to tell and say, Farah, I didn't say that. That is not what I said. But people struggle with, it's not the fact of even, I'm not even saying be a good listener. I'm saying they struggle with comprehending verbal words, better yet reading. You may have said A, but they heard F. It's just a skill that they didn't develop. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying because you read, you're a good listener, right? But you have the capability of listening. Whether you listen or not, it's up to you. But at least you have the capability of listening and understanding. Because you're practicing that comprehension. You're reading something, you're comprehending, and you're understanding, trying to get to the argument. So if someone's saying something now, you can process the information and clearly understand what that person's saying. And sometimes if the thing get real heated, you may want to repeat what they said. Like, I just want to make sure I'm hearing you clearly. This is what you said in the heat of an argument. But these are just skills that you'll develop. And I want to say again, I'm not saying all these skills that develop. I think reading is the most basic way to develop these skills. And I want to say this again, Farah, for all my men out there. Put pride to the side. You've been going through your life for a very long time with the inability to read. And I can pick it up on clearly. People, especially men who can't read, they do all type of things to kind of divert attention. And they're masters at it because they had to do it in school. Always had to take attention off themselves. Always had to take attention off the fact that they can't do this work. They don't know what's going on. So socially, they develop skills to kind of fit in, but at the same time, make sure no one sees that weakness. Sometimes they get exploited on the job. A lot of times they're able to figure it out. Because I want to be clear, I'm not saying the person's their IQ is low because they can't read. I hope we're making that argument clear. I do believe previous generations had better critical thinking skills than this generation, though, even though they were illiterate. I say that with confidence, you know. But to the men out there, your quality of life would be better. The quality of life would be better. The opportunities become unlimited when you can read. There's so many things you can learn and develop yourself and grow. And I'm not talking about no finance. Put finances on the side because that's one aspect, right? But as a human being, you can develop when you learn different things and you listen to different great people who worked on developing themselves mentally, spiritually, physically. Read up, learn some new skills, get some dollars going. But you have to get over that hump, that shame, that pride, that embarrassment. It's just something you have to do. And if you don't do it, I'm not saying you're going to have a bad life, but the quality of your life would be much better if you read. When you start reading, it's going to be a struggle. Yes, it is, because it's something you haven't been doing. It's something you have to train yourself to do. When you read a text you may be interested, whether it's the history, the science, the business, whatever, if you don't have a background, if you don't have background knowledge of that subject, you're going to struggle, but just struggle with it so you can build up. And as you read more and more, now you say, I remember this from there, you put two and two. What's the proper term for that they use in regards to, putting things together from different parts with the books? There's some literary term they use. I forgot. But yeah, that's the process that you have to go through, right? I know school kills the whole reading vibe in people, right? But it's time to bounce back because It's just a liberating thing to read. And if you study history, I clearly understand. I, I clearly understand why they deny people the access to reading. That should be like the red flag. Like, all right, people in power always try to deny the oppressed, still to this day, because if we look at it deep enough, they're still denying people access to read it if we really go into schools because they're not learning how to read. And why is that? Why would a person deny you access to learn how to read? What is so important about reading that they don't want you to read? And it should be an act of go ahead, Fire.
Me have two things to say about that, right? So there one, all right. One, they talk about the interest. It's a very critical thing that I don't want there to say it and it just roll off to our next point, because to the interest is very keen. I personally been in the ghetto, tons of ghettos. I see one common factor. In Jamaica, one common factor. No youth who can read, is came and a spark teach them how to read. Chuck, you must say horse racing teach the youth them how to read. For me, see that with my own eyes. No man them don't know, but you see because them are looking at the weights, what them call the weights is the gambling book with the list of horse and the jockey them and thing. You see when them look on that and them see and them can identify with number 3 and them see a female master with number 3, him say, boy, evil that. Him say exotic gift that. Him just look on it and him just know. And it's over the time because every Wednesday, every Saturday, every Derby day and all of these different things, him know say him that him gambling, him ready for a gamble. And the gangsters them meet up on the racetrack. That is how them learn to read. So you see, interest is very important. So you see the fact that them interested in a thing. Enough man not even overstand it, you know. I'm always question it, you know. I ask the man, him say, oh, you say you can't read. Oh, you know another weights. Oh, you have a weights in your hand. So you see the interest with them having a horse racing, it make them just start read things. So you see, it's enough time, it's just we not interested in enough things too. Because the fact that we can even fire critical thinking is way more, use way more brain cell and things than people read, you know. I wonder if enough of the people them even know that too, fire. Because the amount of thing you have to think about in order to get out of a situation or to get yourself in a particular situation to make a little opportunity come or to suffer till another day. You know much different things that you have to do and go through for you and still about the next day to tell a next tale. So the interesting there is nothing we overlook. As simple as it want be, it's nothing for overlook. I may always tell people say, as what I said, you see, if you feel like you're not good at reading and you want to learn how to read, start from something where you're very interested in. It's no joke. It's proven over and over again. And that is just my observation. So you can be used to many other things too. And then the second point where there is about in regards to the people them in power, them no want to see the powerless reach point for them levels. Here reading is a essential thing where the man them use ages, you know, because as a youth, we're very intellectual and know, have a high vocabulary similar to all of these politicians. We just don't need to use it some out of context like them. I see over the years, I listen to them speeches, I listen to them interviews, I listen when them talk up on the podium for you. Them are some good orator, but them use it for bad reasons, because here what the man them don't know. Them just say one and two big word, because them one and two where people call big word. And know say, the common person don't use these words. So you see, anytime we have speeches, we're going to inject these words all over our speech. And that's something where enough of the man, them, me used in a student government, and enough time we have to review speech in another way and make sure the project on the same way. So I can imagine when it comes to senior politics, you know, for how dread that is, you know. So and then when the people them know from the lower level of society hear them things, you know, them start identify with them as being intelligent. Because the big mistake, one of the biggest mistake and biggest con, I think probably of this century and the century before or whenever, is people mistake intelligent people for articulate people. And that is the biggest con. That is the biggest con where take place up to this day. When a man articulate, people are going to assume same intelligent. And that's not normally the case, as that succumbs politicians have the grip then all over with it because them know how to speak. When them talk, when me hear Obama talking, I can tell anybody, when me hear Obama talk and them say people, And I'm saying, me not, sometimes you have to take yourself out of the trance too, because I'm sound so good. And when time I mix and blend them words together, it's like a wizardry. And I tell people, say, sometimes them have to know how them things. And in order to keep up and even know when a man go around you, or when a man give factual information, you have to know, you have to have a vocabulary. Because we have to remember saying the world run off of symbolism, you know. So you see, when time the world running off of symbolism, what is the biggest symbol the way we use to communicate as human beings? The words, man. Our words come from, we know the words come from letters. And the basic thing, you know, letters create words, words create sentences, sentences create paragraph. I will just go up the line. So everything connected fire. So it's almost like we are miss out on the main form of symbolism where we use in a human culture to communicate if we block out ourselves from the particular thing there. And that's one of the main reasons why we can't stop and improve the vocabulary. We can't stop improve how the words them flow. And that in the context of that now, we realize that reading is essential.
Serious thing, far right. And once again, I'm gonna keep saying, they talk about repetition and brainwashing. I'm gonna as much time as I can. You know, if you can't read, yeah, right. So that's your thing. You know, if you can't read, we definitely encourage you to get on top of that. Also, if your children can't read, right, that's the next thing because people in denial about their kids reading. If your kids struggle with reading, you need to get them some help. You can't let the kids sit there and be, after fourth grade, if they can't read on fourth grade level, it's like 66% chance things not gonna work out for them in life. Yeah? That's facts. There's one thing I want to quote, but I don't know if it's conspiracy or real, but there's something with some prisons in regards to, I don't want to say it because I don't know if it's facts, but what is facts? If a child not reading on a fourth grade level by fourth grade, it's a rough road ahead of them. And some of the resources that are spent on other things may want to be redirected towards some form of tutoring, specifically reading, if you're out there buying the sneakers that are $100 to $200 and some of the electronics, you tone down on that and double up on this tutoring for the child so they could get on level, so they could kind of get themselves going, moving forward and have a better chance at life. Because we got to put that on the parent. I was talking to somebody the other day about prom. It's prom season. I've taught in public school, so I've seen it firsthand, and I tell you, it's the wickedest thing I've seen because I told the kids and they say, hi, sure, but it's like, bro, I know kids that can't read, 6, 17, 18, but then they're telling me $1,000 suit that they're never going to wear again. Then exotic cars, the new thing. They don't do limos due to the individual, the high level. That's the next thing that really exposes individualism right now. Before it was limos, it was a collective, right? So you have 8, 10 people put in a $20 rent the limo, right? They off that. Everybody want their separate car. They renting these cars from like some music videos. That's the next 1,000. So I'm just looking. If you go to public school in an impoverished area, right, and you're spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on a one night event, I don't know where the money's coming from. So I'm not here to judge anybody, but whether it's cash or credit, they're paying for it. So all I'm saying is that I'm not saying they shouldn't go to prom. You could probably rent a suit for $150, right? That leaves you with $3,850, $3,850 to get this child some help. So we gotta put it on the parents sometimes too, how they using their resources. Are they using resources to help the child develop themselves academically, intellectually? What is the emphasis put on? If I got a child that's failing their classes, they definitely they definitely not gonna be in no name brand. I'll tell you that much. You get what I'm saying? Like I try to give my strength, and if they don't use it, but like no, we gotta like reuse it. I know it's not the popular thing to hear, but like it's a rational behavior in the sense that you have to acknowledge that my child's struggling in school. I know a lot of people don't even know that their child's struggling in school. Depending on the school they're going to, if they're quiet, they'll pass. That's the next hustle. If you're in the hood, you at school, if you're not saying nothing, bro, you gonna pass. It's like the teacher reward you just for not giving a headache. But when it comes to actually doing work, a lot of our kids are behind. It is what it is. And if you have any resources, I just highly recommend that you use that. Easy on the Jordans, easy on the PS3, 4, 5, 6, whatever number we're on. Cut down on the iPhone and use some of that money for tutoring, math, and reading.
Why? So at two things more I say. Well, it's not funny, but it's just something you mentioned them things there and something come to my brain. Occurrence will go on with me in the past, right? You have a look at juvenile and them must say him can't read. So now me look when I look and I see him have on a shoes, so I take off the shoes off of him foot, and when I take off the shoes off of him foot, I say, what type of shoes is? I said, no, Jordan, give me Jordan. Give him a Jordan. And I said, Jordan. I said, oh, you know what's that Jordan? Yes, I said, oh, you know what's that Jordan? I said, see the Nike there? And I said, which Nike? I don't see no Nike. It said, but it said, him say, look, I said, look, you can't read. He say, is him brain it. Them I say, him slow up and reading, you know. So now, me start laugh. So I laugh. Now everybody I wonder why me I laugh, because me I say, I'm sure him can't read. I'm not interested for read. And I say, which shows this? Where's the Nike? And he said, look, see that Nike. See, I say, he might show me now, I said, the reverse psychology, you know, me use by him and the same youth that way everybody I say can't read, you know. Can't read, you know, but him interested in the shoes. And because he's interested in the shoes again, so it goes to show you, say, it is a key part of reading that, you know, so enough time, even you mentioned the parenting part, that's something where parents need to understand. Say, you see the interest of the youth, the way the youth interested in her. It's just that you are feed the youth things so them interested in her, so them brain knowing, so them are going to get that automatically. Them now go fulfill the reading part or fulfill some of those basic life skills, because them don't need to know the basic life skills in order to get where them need. So sometimes I them think that I carry the thing right over the top, and I make the youth them just the way I bring them right over the top and I make them just drop so. I would never really give them no parachute, nor give them nothing at all for see us stay up in the air and don't drop or crash the way they, you know. So we now overstand, say, we now feed the youth them the right way, and we reward some bad behaviors both ya. I say, because we reward some bad behaviors both ya now, it make the youth them nah catch on to the thing them where them pay catch on to, because a youth supposed to know, say, the sentences them when I put together, it's supposed to have flow, and I'm supposed to have practice and make it flow. And at them thing the way I show the one them say, we now enforce them things that both where the youth them have so much things I get. And then the last part before they jump into, when a youth get a PlayStation and them have to set up the PlayStation, don't them have to click on all something what's the next. Then when him know say next, you have to click on all of the different things. Remember, you have to read and the intro come out, the introduction come out and all of them things. There are still words upon that, you know. So how come him say interested in that, but yet still when it comes to the time for learn lessons from the book, no, him don't know them words, but him know the words them where they upon the game, and him know the word where they upon the shoes. And we have to understand why I go on fire says not even enough time, it's not even like say the youth them illiterate need a fire. It's just the interest where the youth them have. It a take over the youth them brain and them read things when it comes to that. But anything outside of them levels there, them not interested in it. So it have a look like say them slow, but they're not really slow.
No, fire, I got push back on that, you know. As a man in education, kids can't read, you know. There's a large portion of kids that literally cannot, the words almost look like hieroglyphics to them. They can't decipher the word. I'm not talking about this dyslexia, that issue. I'm not talking about that where it's like the thing look. I'm talking about regards to they can't decipher the words because they just don't understand it. They never got the basics of reading. And I think that where they dropped the ball in education, and I want to remember the other thing I want to touch on you said, but where they dropped the ball in education is that say you're in 10th grade, right? And you're on a 3rd grade reading level. They don't give you 3rd grade reading to build you up to 4th grade to 5th. They steady jamming 10th grade reading down your face. You're pretty far right. That's like if you can't hit a note, you got to build yourself up to hit the note. I can't just pressure you and stress you out every day talking about hitting the note. Your voice is not trained to hit the note. That's what they do in reading. So once you're behind now, because remember the teacher has to teach at grade level, all right, that's what they're getting, whatever, I observed that. That's where they're getting critiqued on, right? So they can't, but you're at a 3rd grade reader. I think as a rational human being is that once we identify the child's, regardless of age, I don't give the person's 80 years old. Once we figure out the level that they are, we need them to master that level and build up from there, or even start a little behind so we can get on the basics and move forward. I can't say, oh, because you're in college, I'm just going to give you college work. What are you going to do with it? I use the analogy of weightlifting. If you only can lift 200, if you only can lift 20 pounds, why I can give you 100 pounds from now until you drop. You have to build up to that. You're not going to build up by just lifting something that you can't lift. Only thing you're going to do is hurt yourself, you know? And with the reading, they get discouraged, right? And they just get turned off to learning. People just get turned off to learning when learning should be a lifelong thing on your personal journey, which is very strategic, right? But the school just destroys people's want to learn, to information. You're a life student, fire. You're always learning, and that fire that's in you is destroyed. And people see learning as such like a terrible thing, a boring, terrible thing. But it's something else you said, man. Let me write it down. Oh, man, you said man, I forgot, man. It's something you said. I want to text you on. You're talking about the oh, that's what I want to say. Um, Along with obviously the men, right? But I wanted to circle back around in regards to the kids because a lot of times the parents criticize the kids or chastise the kids for where they are. You need to read. I'm not saying, well, obviously you need to read to your child when they were young, right? If you didn't read, the child needs to see you reading. Too many parents drop the ball with stressing out these kids about reading, and they've never seen. There's no ain't no books in the house, fire. Ain't no little library, no two books. There's nothing there. It don't work. Same thing with the eating. It's the same thing. Like you need to set the example and set the tone. I'm not saying you gotta be locked away for 2 hours every evening, but the child has to see you read at least once in a blue moon. You know how it go far. They never see this person read. Then they stressing out the child about reading. It can't work. You have to set the example. When you don't set the example, you shocked because the behavior, because the child's replicating the behavior. If the norm is for you to come home and prop in front of the TV and just deal with that or deal with the phone, that's you've normalized behavior. It's abnormal to go read in the house because no one's reading. It's not even no books in the house. It's not even no books in the house, yeah. Because at least back in the day, Granny somebody have a Bible in there, read the Bible once in a blue moon. So the Bible thing not even there now is too tough again for most people. You know, so
Or one look at newspaper even though they the same, you know. Nobody newspaper
right.
thing neither.
And I will say this about Jamaican culture, all right? People read the newspaper, yeah. So that's one thing. Because literacy kind of, you know, but yeah, but the newspaper vibe not again. Because even I was reading the newspaper because it was almost like the thing to do because all the adults were reading the newspaper. So it's just like you read the newspaper and next thing you know, you find yourself reading all type of things, you know, all type of international news and all that. But now, news, it's technology, where are we getting our news from? 20, 30-second snippets. That's not even a full thought, not even a full argument. It's like some headline.
I must say most of the argument them where we as people have off of social media charts or whatever we see in a fire way longer than the thought process where we see itself, you know. So we see 20 minutes, 20-second snippets, and we have hour-long arguments about it. And sometimes if one's even draw back 1 second and say, wait fair, then me then realize that most of them conclusion I'm farm for myself. I'm a farm that based on a 20 seconds and then end up in a disagreement with somebody will lead to a bad vibes or some form of tension. We don't really find that strange. We don't find that strange. And even though we know that them things can go towards anybody in a fight, the reason why we even pick for say we're gonna talk about black men in particular, not even black men, just men overall. Then we won't put it on the levels there. But even though we know say when it comes to what them classify as a minority, then and so we know how them stats the shape. But when it come to men in a fire, remember say them always the whole concept is that men are supposed to be leaders and the ones who would drive the thing forward, you know, when it comes to even a family structure, you know. But you gonna be a leader when you can overstand any form of interpretation from no other angle fire. What are you going to lead when so much things are so bleak in front of you and you don't really understand what is in front of you? what you gonna do? You know, you always tell us a blind can't lead blind, you know. So you have to understand, so you have to get some form of vision, you have to get some form of insight. You have to know how to develop a story, format different things in order to lead anybody forward. And if you don't know how to read, not saying that you can't go, you lead nobody in no particular way, shape, or form. But that leadership I will have some form of hindrance towards it. And it now gonna have the direction where it's supposed to have completely or even close to completion.
And last thing I want to say, man, reading has been so liberating for me. I mean, so empowering because reading was what really changed my life. I know different people have different experiences that lead to them changing their life. My life was changed through gaining information through literature. I'm not knocking audio, right? I'm not knocking speeches. But when people are speaking very fast or especially for a long time, unless you listen to that 10, 20, 30 times, you're going to miss majority of it and you're not going to internalize it. With that book, I was just telling my wife the other day how reading a book one time is foolishness. It's just, hey, let me tell you this. Music is the same thing. I've been listening to Bob Marley since I came out the womb. Yeah, I turned 39 soon, right? All right, I was listening to he have a tune called From Trenchtown on Confrontation, right? I was listening to when I was walking. Yo, I hear some stuff I'd never heard before. I've been listening to the song so maybe it's the time of my life I'm supposed to hear it. But it's like you have to hear it. You can't listen to it one time and get the fullness of it. Because me listening to Revolution from Naughty Dread as a child, as a teen, is totally different from me. Listen to it now. I can tell you, I never heard the percussions till I became an adult. Now, it's the craziest thing, but I never heard the percussions till I became an adult. You can't read a book one time. You can't. And I was arguing within myself, like, should we be reading such a large amount of books, or are there certain books we should read over and over? Because if we had scribes and different I don't know, elite people from societies, I don't think they were reading a lot of stuff. They were really mastering one thing because there's so much information in there to internalize. So it's just a vibe where it's like, as I said, I'm not knocking the speech thing, but a lot of things are lost in translation because somebody may say something profound and you're stuck on that. Then for the next 5 minutes, you didn't really take in what they were saying because you were still kind of dealing with that in your brain. But when you have the text, you could just slow down and really just marinate on that and take it in and go back on it and take your notes and look into it and think about it. You think it's true, you think it's not true, this makes sense, it don't make sense. What were they trying to say there? And at the same time, working out that mind, you're working it out. Man, lifting weights, you're working out that mind, you're sharp. So when stuff happens out in the world, now you can see and analyze and see what's what. If you have a disagreement with someone, you can think about their perspective. Like you know how you feel, or even you can think deeper why you feel the way that you feel. And when you analyze it, you may come to the conclusion it's foolishness. Now I'm just tripping, bro. You hear a next person say, man, you know what? I really understand why that person's angry about this. You may find yourself in a position where you just apologize, or you can articulate yourself to say, hey, man, this is why I did it, but it's kind of wrong. Or, you can clearly articulate what transpired instead of this arguing, which leads to unnecessary violence. And if you want to be on the heights, I recommend that you read right if you can. That's another thing. Because you have some people that could talk that can't write. You have some people that could talk that can't read. You have some people that can read that can't write. You know what I'm saying? And you want to put it all together so you're on the heights. And you're an interesting person when you know a lot of information. Like I could go anywhere and talk to anybody. Yeah. From homeless to billionaire, anywhere on earth. You have so much information. And you can just fit in and have a conversation with people. You know how to lead and guide a conversation. You know how to start a conversation. You know how to continue a conversation. Because you have such a vast knowledge base. You can't be going amongst people and then nothing to say. You don't know what's going. You don't know geography. They saying they from somewhere. You don't know where it is. Man, tell you from there. You think it's over there. Basic occurrence in the world. You don't know what's going on. Basic history. Basic economics. To say, yeah, yo, I'm familiar with that. Blah blah blah. Especially as a black man, because everything we're retarded anyway. It just got representations of to start with.
Now, Fox, you talk fire because opportunity coming in my life already. Way me I tell people about all things about them country and them so excited. The person who in the position for make the opportunity go on for me, me I tell them about things about for them country and them I ask me, oh, I know that. Me I tell them say, I just like to read about these particular regions and and I find this region fascinating and thing and opportunity door open up. So you see how simple some things be. And most times we realize enough people it's not we can't just even reason to the ones them who now made the effort for read enough time to but enough time to we have to reason with the ones who try to read and find it so difficult or frustrating what I did mention earlier. But what we really want to bounce back on that is like one need for overstand context or overstand timing, your timing. And you can't really, as they say, you can't jump from 0 to 100 fire. It does not make no sense. It not make no sense fire because if you don't know 2 topics, you can't go know 50 topics. You have to understand the context of the thing fire and the timing and what you need to know in order to rise and progress up the ladder fire. Because I tell them say, sometimes I see some people just want to know too much. I feel like say, them said them say jack of all trade, but them want to be a jack of all trade, but them might end up be a master of none. You have to have a 1 and 2 thing where you can master, a 1 and 2 thing where you can express yourself with more freely. And once you can express yourself more freely, say everything in life is stages. And if you can express yourself with this particular topic or this particular area, then you can start venture out to express yourself in a different region. So that's very critical for you because if you can't know, you don't know a particular topic, then obviously it's going to become more frustrating. And when it becomes more frustrating, it's like I one just uninterested. Like the one just not interested at all. There's no engagement that going to take place if I want interested at all from a level. So to ease the frustration, try if you learn or read about things to the most part where I can spark the interest and spark the little light. Then once you get the little light that will spark, then you start master out and start mix venture out and can become dead, the master of different craft there and below.
And serious thing, and I said it before, and I want to finish with this fire unless you have something else. As a man, right? As a black man, as a man in general, you have to learn as much as you can about the system that you're in. The system we live in is designed to destroy, exploit you. And you have to learn about it so you know how to navigate it. That is your responsibility. Too many times, oh, they didn't tell me. Why? Who's telling you this? Like, who's telling you this? You are so lucky if you meet someone that can explain something to you. Too many times, too, the ego and the ignorance is too high, where the person explaining stuff to you don't want to hear it anyway. But for your own survival, we're talking about survival in this environment. Basic animalistic survival, far right, in this environment that we're in, right? The reality is a lot of people don't break down how to survive in this environment. I highly recommend and I challenge you that you learn about this environment. And the easiest way to learn about it, believe it or not, is through the books. The information's in there. How to navigate with food, finances, that financial literacy fight is very important. When you understand how these people constantly try to manipulate you and make you insecure so they can sell you self-worth, you'll make better financial decisions. When you understand the game, build up your confidence knowing that you can do something with yourself. Build up your confidence knowing that, you know what? I can turn $1 into $3. I could turn 3 into 6. I could turn 6 into 13. I could turn 13 into 30. Lack of knowledge correlates with that lack of confidence because you don't know what to do. So therefore, you're very tentative and you don't believe it can get done. But once you understand the information, you know in your heart you can get done. You got to build up yourself, and there's more literature to build up yourself. So this reading, listen, everybody I know that's progressive read. Facts. I don't know one person on earth right now, a younger person. I don't know my older person. I'm talking about a person, say 20 to 50, that's not an avid reader that reads all the time. That's always getting information. That's the common denominator I know with everyone I know that's out here doing their thing, always getting information, always learning new information, learning more about their craft, developing their skill, always reading. And that's a fact. And you'll be shocked. A lot of these people you think that don't read, they do read. A lot of these entertainers read. I don't care how much craziness they want to talk in these rap songs and dancehall songs. A lot of them are avid readers. Where are they getting all this information from? Yeah, some have writers. A lot of these people reading a lot. What's the thing they always say? I don't even like saying these little silly sayings, but they say, if you want to keep something from a black person, put it in a book. Well, it's true though, man. I don't like those little silly sayings, but it's very true. Like, man, but the information is there. I didn't want to like jump on the finances. We need to do that another show. I was just dealing with basic literacy, but that financial literacy is very important, man. The spending habits is terrible. The insecurity is terrible. Because the insecurity that's just is the listen, the insecurity and the ignorance destroying your finances, yeah. You don't know what you're doing with your money. You don't know why you're doing it. Because you don't understand the system that you in. It's the information to understand the system and how to navigate and how to deal with your finances on the heights. Playing us like a puppet. A man go to work for 2 weeks straight, no no money left here when he should. And I want to be clear to some people that just don't make enough. This message is for those who make enough that shouldn't be in the financial position that you're in. And the reason in your financial situation is because of insecurity and ignorance, a deadly combination, burn out all your finances. Because your financial decisions aren't based off of the laws and rationale. It's based off of insecurity that these people instilled in us. And I can't blame you. It's not a blaming game. I'm just telling you the program. We're being manipulated every day to just give our money away. And it's your duty to educate yourself so you can get through. You don't have to be in that position. You have to gain the information. And if you want it and you want to change your life, the information is there. Just like you research foolishness, you go research and find out where that information is. Serious thing. Fire, I ain't want to stretch out the argument, and I think we should do the finances another day. I don't want to go too deep into finances, but there's a level of accountability that we need in regards to this reading thing. Anybody out there struggling with reading, there's so many programs there. So many programs there for you to develop your reading. And it's a skill like anything else. And don't get discouraged. When you start, it's going to be hard, yes. And when you start, don't sit and try to read for no hour. How you going to jump from not reading to an hour? It makes no sense. Try to get 10 minutes in. I read a lot on the toilet when I take number twos person. That's when I get most of my reading done. That's like my little man cave, my little time to myself. So, depending, instead of the phone, rock with the book.
And you trick that man, you have to leave it every crevice and corner where you sit down back right when you sit down one place. Yeah, so wait, throw the book you have to write, so then I'll get I write things to the writer, so I go on inside it. And the trick that so yeah, I the trick that man, so I saw the things said fire at them things that I show one say, encouragement, you have to encourage yourself sometime, so when you left one book here and there in a corner in a bathroom, the places them where so you have to go, sometimes at the encouragement, man. And I them think the way I see something, where people tell us, oh, them I see sweets. So when them I see sweets, it's come like, that's why them I eat. So them I try get the sweets out of them side. I saw when time we see book, you know, it stir up something intellectually where we just want to know what go on there. So you're curious to know about what your neighbor them I do. You're curious to know about what the celebrity I do. So sometimes I one can curious to know what go on in the book there too. You understand?
No, serious thing, man. And as I said, we encourage everybody to get your reading on. It's cool to read. It's cool to be full of information. It's cool to be able to hold it, conversation, to be articulate, right? To just to be bright, man. Because we had a brain, you know. We just have to use it, you know. Sometimes, too many times, a lot of brothers dumb themselves down from early, from younger and older. Like they don't want nobody to know they're brilliant. And I'm just saying to develop your brilliance, you know, and it just be better. It would be I can't even put words out how beneficial it would be to put yourself on heights. You working out, you eating right, you reading, you working on your craft, you developing on yourself, you getting some bread, you feeling good about yourself, you looking good. That's what you want. But it's just work and making decisions. You know, like, man, I can't do this now. I probably should read something. That's what we dealing with. Straight progress. Anybody listening to this podcast know we deal with straight progress 24/7. If I deal with progress, I deal with progress. Right? We not selling you nothing. I ain't taking you buy no book from me. We just dealing with progress and sharing stuff we do to make sure we on the heights.
Straight.
And that's facts. Community service. So we give thanks for everyone tuning in for those times. Make sure you check out the video for the one far right. As the water flows or river flows, I always mess up
Yes,
the title.
as the water flows, you know, the element, you know, eat your water. We have to make sure the thing is there, you know, because Rastafari, we are dealing with, you know. So I'm a tune, man.
As the water flows, have the UK stepper sound. If you don't know what that is, tune into the tune
Right.
and you will know what it is. Respect to the one King Rafa Makaka for working on the project. Also, the full EP is there, Disrupting the Status Quo, in the description. We are spinning every Sunday, 9 to 11 a.m. I Never Knew Radio. Also, Wednesdays, 8 to 10, Thursdays, 10 to noon. And if you get free time, some new Irie reasons there, I never knew TV.com.